occurrences just beyond the reach of understanding.
Hey there, ponderers of the paranormal and Patreon pals. It's good to see you, Mike. I guess I should include you in this conversation as well, huh?
Well, as long as I'm part of it, I might as well be part of it.
Ooh, that was profound.
Yes.
That was very, very profound. No, this is Patreon episode, what, 53? I think this is 53. Holy crap. Yeah, it's I felt like it was time for another one. Well, we both agreed that it was time for another Patreon exclusive episode. Yes. Time to return to the creature features. It's been a while. This one is not exactly a obscure cryptid by any means. One of the better known cryptids out there. One of the more infamous of them. Definitely not as obscure as like the Snallygaster or the Tetzelworm or stuff like that. You know. One that we've mentioned briefly, but we've never done a topic dedicated solely to this mystery. Mike, what are we going to be talking about today, my friend?
We're going to dive deeply into the legend of the Mothman.
Ooh, dun, 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 dun. I thought you were going to say something sick and say we're going to like dive deeply up into the Mothman or something like that. No,
you came up with that, not me. That didn't even cross my mind.
Okay, good. I'm happy.
That wouldn't have either. That's disgusting.
Hey, I'm just saying. I never know.
Or it could have been Bigfoot and something to do with Jack Link's
Or
jerky or whatever.
We're not going to be reenacting any scenes from Night of the Demon anytime soon. So I don't think so. If you don't know what that reference is about, go listen to our latest episode.
Yeah. So I got to ask a question though. What prompted the Bigfoot to tear off this guy's appendage?
Because it was just there. I mean,
it was just there.
Okay, Mike, you're asking for a reason when there is no reason to be found. It's just gratuitous violence and one of the worst movies of all time, but so bad it's entertaining.
Yeah, the director says, don't worry, it'll fit.
Yeah,
it'll work out.
We'll get it in there somewhere. That's another thing. It's funny as hell because like at one point, I mean, they didn't even bother fixing a mess up on the editing because it went to a scene. You know, it kind of faded out. Then the next scene started and lasted for maybe like a second. And then its screen went black again. And then it went to a totally different scene. And then it went back to the scene that lasted for a second. You know, because they like totally screwed up the editing. But they're like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bother. You know, we're going to concentrate on this guy's wang getting ripped off. That's the main important thing.
Yeah, that's why they got Uncle Ernie, the producer's drunk cousin, to edit the movie.
That's what he probably did. Probably has a very dull scissors, you know, just literally cutting the film, click, click, and they have to tape it back together.
Nothing that a dull pair of scissors, a roll of Scotch tape, and some spit won't take care of.
It's illegally there, brother. Yeah, it's a gem.
Anyway,
it's a gem. Maybe not gem, but yeah. I suppose if you could shove a lump of coal up your butt, then turn it into a diamond, then it would be considered like a gem in that matter. But no, not a gem. Not a gem.
Takes too long. Unless you got Superman butt cheeks where you can squeeze it into a diamond. And
I never thought of
under all that pressure.
That's an idea for a new superhero. I think you just stumbled across something that could bring us millions, Mike. The Buttman, the diamond maker, and you know, I don't know. Oh, golly gee. Yeah, Mothman. But this is going to be an absolute off-the-cuff discussion. as we mentioned before, we've never done a deep dive into this. It's something that we're both interested in, but I have to say right off the top of my head, it's something that I've just never, I don't want to lessen the intrigue or by any means. I'm saying that kind of sarcastically, but it's something that has never grabbed me personally for whatever reason. Not the creature itself, but I'm talking about the legend. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know why.
Well, if we were from that area, it'd be different.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You know, I think when we did talk about it was when we were talking about like omens and curses and stuff like that. I believe, because is that not part of the legend that, you know, the sighting of a Mothman is like a
Portent
of disaster type
disaster,
thing?
yes.
Yeah. So I mean,
the bridge collapse and things like that.
Yeah, I mean that obviously happened. That really happened. I mean, it's part of history, you know. But was it really attached? Was it related to this legendary creature? I don't know. It's really difficult for me to wrap my cryptid, interested mind around it. But maybe that will change by the time we're done talking during this episode, right, Mike? You're going to convince me.
That's very, very possible.
I don't know. We were going back and forth between the Owl Man or the Mothman, but they're very similar in a lot of ways in physical descriptions, different locales. I mean, this is the Owl Man legend that originates from across the pond, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, and the wings are made by entirely different textures and material.
Well, sure. I mean, they have to be unique in some way, in some shape or form. I don't know. Is that Mary in the background? Is she there?
She is here. What, do you see her?
I do see her. I don't know if she enjoys being seen, but I see her. I see her face.
Oh, there. Okay, yeah, just kind of a faded face.
Okay.
Chewing on something.
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, I hope it's something good. I want to say something real quick that's totally not related to the topic, okay? Because that's what we usually do.
I do that often.
I mentioned this to Bridget briefly, and before we started recording, and she was like, "Me, that was nothing," you know, and it probably is nothing, but it was really weird. I was driving Jaden home from tennis practice. I came to the cross in the road there, the T in the road, on the county roads that I take every day to take a left to get down to Beach Haven Road here and all that good stuff. So to kind of lay the scene here, I'm driving on County Road 6. The final curve is a right curve, and you're kind of going upward. You're elevating a little bit. Then you come to the T, and you come into County Road 87, and they merge. And you take a left on 87, it goes towards Beach Haven Road, goes toward Hubbard, you know, my house. You take a right, it goes back towards Highway 71. Anyhow, get to that cross in the road there, the T in the road, whatever you want to call it. I do my usual, you know, look to the left, no one coming. Look to the right, no one coming. And, you know, I can see for a good, well, anyone can see for a good distance, both left and right when they get there. When you look to the right, it is slanting, curving downward. And so if you were coming that way, you'd be going up the hill, towards where I am. So the visual isn't as great. The vision isn't as great as far as you can see. But anyways, I take a left, no one coming. Take a look to the right, no one coming. Take a left turn, no more than 2 seconds at most. You know, that's the amount of time that was taken up. Glance at my rear view mirror before I'm even finished with my turn, and there's a damn van behind me taking a left down the road that I just came from. And I yelled out loud to Jaden. I was like, "Where the hell did that car come from?" And I was like, "Did I just pull out in front of this damn car?" I know I didn't. And Jaden just casually just said, "A glitch in the matrix." And I was like, "What?"
There you go. She knows.
I'm telling you. I mean, yeah, more than likely the car was going 195 miles an hour.
Very fast and come up over that hill.
Came up over that hill. But you think I had my windows down. You know, I think I would have heard they would have had to have come to a screeching halt in order to take that sharp left.
Yeah.
So again, I'm sure that's what happened. But I'm also kind of terrified that, did I just casually look to the right, see the car, but it didn't register, and I still pulled out in front of it?
I did that once.
Oh, it's not that. It made me feel unsettled because
I did that to a semi, and he was. And the next thing I remember seeing was the shocked look on his face as he's pushing down on the brakes like crazy.
See, that's just the thing.
I could have been killed.
This car was in the process of taking a left, though. I mean, it had to have
Yeah.
it had to have slowed down, Mike, to take a left. And I'm telling you, I didn't. It was no more than 2.5 seconds when I.
And then it was up to speed, going really fast, coming behind you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I'm at the stop sign, from the time I put the foot on the accelerator again to begin taking a left turn, and by the time I'm straightened out, maybe 2.5 seconds at most.
Yeah.
And then there's a car right behind me taking a left, and it was just weird.
And you so do not expect it because there was nothing there, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it is there. Yeah,
I didn't like it.
Patrick kind of yellowed his shorts a little bit.
It was just, I don't know. I'm just bothered by that because I'm like, no, I think I could have just killed both myself and Jaden, for God's sakes. I just didn't see a damn car coming. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there are probably a lot worse things that happen than that.
Well,
be thankful for that you don't do those.
very, very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true. And another, before we dive into another thing I wanted to mention was, and I mentioned this to Bridget as well, and she again kind of rolled her eyes at me and said, "Nah, it's just in your head." I'm like, okay. Anyways, unfortunately, sadly, a coworker at North Star just passed away this last weekend.
Oh, anybody I know?
I think you were gone before he started working there. He came in later on. He was basically kind of like the maintenance guy.
Okay.
His name was Gene, and he was, I think he may have been in his mid 60s when he passed away, but lifelong heavy smoker, and he ended up with lung cancer.
Yeah, Diet Coke.
And Diet Coke and lung cancer. Sure. But it's just, of course, I am very sensitive, as you know, Mike, and I'm empathetic.
Yes.
And I'm empathetic, and I don't know how the hell you can handle your job and how you get so close to so many people and then they pass away. That would bother me too much because it's not like I knew this guy. It's not like we were friends, but I spoke to him every day.
Right.
And you see him every day. And he was there just a month ago, still, he was still working up until he just literally had to stop.
Yeah, he couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. And then, but I mean, so we knew he was ill and you knew that was probably going to happen, but it's still just, it sends shivers down your spine a little bit, it's like, oh my gosh, really? He passed away? So I mentioned this, what I mentioned to Bridget was, I'm telling you, Bridget, now when I'm in that back storage room and stuff, and I'm sure it's just me thinking this way because I'm weirded out by it, but I swear to God, Gene's back there. He's walking around where he always would be, back in the storage room doing maintenance stuff, whatever, down at the other end of the building, fixing things. We get down there and I'm by myself. Of course, I'm by myself. So I'm like, looking around. Are you wandering the halls still?
Yo, Gene.
Yeah. So but again, I'm sure it's just in my head. I know it is, but I felt like I was when I was back there today.
Yeah.
It's because it's still fresh. We just learned about this yesterday, and so I'm back there and still doing stuff.
Yeah, and then it goes through your mind. Mm-hmm. And then, have you had any encounters or heard any shuffling?
Oh no!
Feet sounds down the floor where John might still be.
Oh no! I mean, I've actually had, when I've been there by myself, going in on Saturdays or Sundays or whatever, doing whatever work I'm doing. And I'm the only one in the lab. I've done those quick EVP sessions. I brought the digital recorder back there and stuff. And haven't picked up anything at all. Just really, the weird things that are picked up you can explain them by just noises that buildings make.
Yeah.
So I have not had any personal experiences there at all in the least bit.
Yeah, it's kind of, you would kind of think that John might be there once in a while.
You would think, yeah. I mean, that was his baby. That was his.
Yeah.
business.
Oh, yeah. But then I can also hear him saying, "What the hell would I want to be around there for after I die?"
I know. Exactly. Great point. Great point.
Yeah.
So it's just me and my oversensitive self the last couple days. I think I'm experiencing a glitch in the matrix, and I feel like a recently passed away person is hanging out in the lab, and then I get mocked.
It's good to have that, that thought of being oversensitive, but you also have to accept the amount of sensitivity that you really need to have, so you don't blow off everything.
That's very true. I'm not a cold-hearted cynic by any means. I don't sit there and just immediately dismiss everything. I think.
No, but
I think
you
about it a
could,
little bit before I dismiss it.
you could have something happen that's very legit, and you don't dismiss it right away, but you go through 2 or 3 different ideas of what it might be, other than a paranormal activity, and then you dismiss it.
Yeah, when I thought I saw your ghost cat on our Skype chat that one time, I thought I saw it, reflecting in your mirror, like moving. I was certain I saw it, but then by the next morning, I was like, nah.
Yeah,
I don't think I saw it. But
of course.
I don't know. Oh, Mike's so disappointed in me. I wish you could all see his face right now. He's like, of course.
Well, I tell you, before we get to the Sally house, you have got to open up a bit, because your sensitive bracket has to be opened.
My sensitive bracket.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. No, I definitely will, man. I definitely will. Well, just look at it this way. We have a 9-hour drive for you to beat it into my brain that I need to open up. So
yeah. Your life is going to change after this trip.
Well, Mike, let's dive into the Mothman, not literally.
Yes.
I'm sure this is something that you've been well aware of for many, many, many years. Am I right now?
Sure.
Yeah. Now, do you consider yourself fairly knowledgeable about the legend, or is it just kind of casual?
Casual.
Same here.
Yeah.
No.
Well, like you said, it's an interesting cryptid, but it doesn't pique the interest like
and I don't
many
mean
of the other ones.
I don't mean to not sell the interest of this episode.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm just being honest. I don't know. It's difficult for me to get into, I suppose. But
we really are selling it, aren't we?
I keep saying get into as well. It's like, oh man. Well, I pulled out my my American Monsters book by Linda S. Godfrey, and I want to tell you, Mike, when I first saw a creepy picture of Mothman, I'm not joking. My reaction was, sorry, that was. I wanted to share that with you because that
was me.
That's you. So
I was going to say that's not. That's not Christopher Walken or anything.
Well, no. So Chris Walken, this is how Chris reacted when he heard you. And then you guys can just go back and forth. Yeah. So I think,
and that's not really me screaming. That's me imitating Mary screaming.
That's right. Absolutely. So I'm going to make good use of that one whenever we're talking about something
that'll be great,
remotely creepy or just out of the blue. Also, I'll just play.
Yeah. Then we'll get some really good new ones at the Sally house.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Mike and Patrick screaming like a little girl, and they sound exactly the same. Sounds like I'm passing a stone or something.
Exactly.
That last fart kind of flapped my hemorrhoid a little too hard.
Oh man. Yep, this is the first sound you hear after Mike locks the bathroom door.
Then shortly after you hear that scream, you hear me saying in a low voice, "Is it supposed to be that color?"
Yeah. No, it isn't. So, man alive.
Anyway,
I didn't pull that one up, but the other clip that I cut out and saved was at one point you called yourself a pasty white ghosty, and so I got that on here too.
I call myself that often.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I could pull that up actually right now. That'll be funny. You mind if I do that live? This is Patreon.
You go right ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll have to delete Mike. Yeah, for now. We'll bring it back up. No worries. No worries, everybody. As I'm not even talking to my microphone. It'd help if I talked into the microphone. And then the other one was Pasty White Ghosty, and there it is. Pasty White Ghosty. Isn't that a Beatles song? Pasty White Ghosty, Ghosty, Ghosty.
I think it's Wings.
All right. Well, Mike, how did you look to Mary in the middle of the night standing in your underwear?
Pasty White Ghosty.
That's right. That's what it was. Okay. What would be the most terrifying thing to see in a dark alley?
Pasty White Ghosty.
That's right. How would you react to seeing a
Pasty White Ghosty?
Okay, I'm done. Mothman. We're 20 minutes in and we haven't even began talking about it. Obviously, this revolves in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, Mike. You know that.
It does.
Started
Started in like 1966, I believe.
well,
Mid 60s was its like first inception.
I learned something right away in the first sentence of this chapter. The Mothman of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and Gallipolis, Ohio. Never heard of Gallipolis, Ohio. If you're from Gallipolis, Ohio, am I butchering the pronunciation?
And have you seen the Mothman?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's interesting. Right. Yeah, there's actually a 12-foot tall statue of the
I would love to go to that.
Mothman in Point Pleasant, and that Point Pleasant, and it presides over the annual Mothman Festival featuring tours, music, speakers, and monstrous souvenirs. That would be cool to go to that festival.
It would, yeah. You know, they just like any other place that has a creature, they capitalize on it, and why not?
Well, there's a museum there that actually is totally dedicated to the Mothman as well.
Yeah, so yeah, why not?
You can add that to a list. We don't they do stuff like that similar down in Roswell as well? You know.
Oh, absolutely huge. Yeah, everything there is has something to do with an alien.
You know,
I could do that in town here. I could. There's buildings that are for rent. I could put together the pasty white ghosty man museum. Pasty white ghosty.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe that should be a phrase on a new Paranormally Zone T-shirt.
Pasty white ghosty. There you go.
Man, why not? Pasty white.
You know what I could do too if I did that in Enderlin here?
What's that?
I could have a picture of me, a very kind of a large one, out in the room of this museum, of me in my pasty white body and underwear, and have the head cut out so people can put their face in there.
Oh, there you
and
go.
Take pictures of themselves as the pasty white ghosty.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Again, you could be onto something, Mike. Could be onto something. Yeah, you're correct.
You have snacks and everything.
Ooh.
Pasty white crullers or something that you can do for $1.
Anyways.
Hot cross buns with peanut butter and jelly.
Ooh, I don't know if that didn't sound good to me right there. You had me up until that hot cross buns. I don't know why that sounded funny.
So anyway,
Mothman, the legend of the Mothman, described as a humanoid / moth chimera. Dozens, if not hundreds of people have claimed to have seen it during the early to mid 1960s. Originally described it as something more akin to a large big bird, or perhaps like an owl man. The earliest known sighting occurred in 1961 on West Virginia State Route 2 in the colorfully named Chief Cornstalk Wildlife Management Area. Okay. The very first documented sighting, 1961.
Okay, so I was off a little bit of the...
Well, you were right on with as far as like the plethora of sightings definitely occurred in the
Sure.
60s.
Yeah, that's like probably working its way up to the bridge collapse.
Okay, walking through this slowly but surely, the witnesses to this, and I'll have to read through this, so I'll try not to do it in a boring way.
That's okay.
Just so we get some of the facts correct here. The witnesses to the possible Mothman precursor were a father and daughter who were driving through that area that we mentioned before, the Chief Cornstalk Wildlife Management Area. That's tough to say. They slowed their vehicle up to spotting a large figure poised in the center line ahead on the road, and were surprised, obviously, to see that it appeared to look like some sort of unknown humanoid. They realized it wasn't an errant human traveler when it snapped out a pair of its wings that were so wide that the tips, as described in so many cases, reached either side of the road. Now that's pretty darn. That's a pretty good size wingspan right there.
Yeah, well, depending on the size of the road, but yes, you would surmise that it's quite large.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Now, luckily, the daughter who was driving, they didn't worry about hitting the creature because, you guessed it, It simply sailed straight up into the air and vanished into the night. So that was the first documented sighting. How would you react, Mike, if you saw something like that? I mean, think about that for a second.
I would be extremely excited, but I would be terrified for a moment.
Now, would you sit
and then I would hope to calm down a little bit.
Would you try and talk yourself off the ledge, so to speak, and say, did I just see what I thought I saw? Or was that just like a giant owl, in the middle of the night?
I'd be, you would have to question yourself at first, but then you just have to really, take it as it is, how you seen it, how you had seen it. And, did it like shake the car as more of a physical proof, as it came by, or if it,
Now, another well-known, I should say well-documented sighting occurred 5 years after this, when Roger and Linda Scarberry were driving their friends Steve and Mary Mallett around a former military munitions facility on the outskirts of Point Pleasant that was locally known as the TNT bunker area.
Yeah, that's quite a big part of the story there.
Now, the two young married couples then saw something much scarier than the abandoned buildings. First, they noticed, which became part of the lore and legend, the bright red shining eyes leering out of the darkness. That's a very common description of the Mothman or the Mothman legend.
Exactly. The very bright red glowing eyes.
I think I remember seeing some cryptid program about like a couple who were kind of like on a lover's lane type thing out in maybe like the woods or on the back road somewhere, and they were doing what lovers do, when they had to. Don't ask me. I don't know. And when they basically were terrified enough to get the hell out of there when they saw these bright red eyes forming behind them and started chasing after them, and they're watching it behind them, just these massive eyes that were just, obviously they were levitating or flying somehow. And it's like, hey, I don't know about that. Thank you very, very much. We're out of here. Now, after noticing the shining eyes, they noticed, they then noticed a gray thing the size and shape of a tall man emerge from the shadows. And exactly as the father and daughter did in 1961, the foursome decided very quickly that the bipedal creature was not human, when it again revealed its huge wings attached to the back. Scarberry, quote unquote, whipped a Yui.
Whipped a Yui.
It says here, to borrow 1960s era teen slang, I've said whip a Yui. I mean, we all say whipped a Yui. Haven't we said that?
Yeah, sure. I remember it like in the 70s.
This might be the story I'm talking about, actually. Yeah, but I for some reason I was remembering just one couple, but apparently this is when they were together with their friends. Yeah, because after they whipped the Yui and tried to speed out of the bunker area, the creature began to sail after them. It kept up with the automobile, even though Scarberry later admitting to reaching speeds of up to 100 miles an hour.
And in the background, you hear very lightly, "Sticks, come sail away."
There you go. Sang to them in a very eerie owl-like screech. Yeah, because they did say that when it flew, the creature supposedly emitted ear-splitting squeaks.
Squeaks.
That reminded the couples of a huge mouse.
Are you serious?
That's what it said.
It's the mouse something.
The moth.
Squeaks.
I can't talk the mouth. I just said the moth. Ooh. Actually, we all know what they heard. They kept on hearing. So.
I think they should have. It would have been a little bit better if they would have used the word screeched instead of squeaked, because it's like, I know. You don't. It just doesn't fit.
It doesn't really fit. It doesn't sound as eerie. It's just kind of But yeah, apparently they likened it to sounding like a big old giant mouse. So. The couples, the thoroughly frightened couples, drove straight to the sheriff's office to, of course, report their experience. And the officers actually took them seriously enough to investigate. But, however, obviously no flying humanoid was seen. And, of course, the teenagers endured serious ribbing from everyone they knew when the incident became public. But the couples have stuck to their story throughout the years. They've never changed their story whatsoever.
Well, wasn't there a car that was also damaged by... Had some damage on the front of the vehicle, if I remember seeing that on a
You might be
documentary.
right. You might be right on that. I know there was one creature, it might have been like a lizard man type creature that supposedly caused damage to an individual's vehicle. And I can't pull it what exactly that legend, what its name is, but I know I thought it was some sort of like lizard beast of some sort. Now, it goes on here. Again, this is a great book, American Monsters by Linda Godfrey. The couples didn't feel alone when other people began reporting the same creature. A Charleston news reporter, in fact, intending a wordplay on the popular comic and TV character Batman, thus dubbed the winged thing Mothman. And of course, that became an instant sensation, picked up by the press and the public alike. Picked up by the puss.
Yeah, got a little bit of infection going there, but you can get some clean that up.
The people's descriptions remained remarkably consistent in their details, as author John Keel noted in his 1990 edition of Strange magazine. Did you ever have that magazine, Strange magazine? Or is that
Did they ever have what?
It's called Strange magazine. Ever had that?
Oh, I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever had an issue of it. No.
Some of the physical descriptions, as we have already talked about, is taller than a large man, maybe 7 feet tall, fiery red eyes. No one was ever able to really seriously discern or describe the look of the face because the eyes dominated the face. The wingspan was always around 6 feet wide, if not more. But they couldn't tell you, witnesses couldn't, in general, tell you if it was covered in fur or feathers or scales. It just appeared as an awesome apparition, big, dark, black, with fiery red eyes.
Right. And being as dark as it is, I mean, the eyes are going to be the prominent thing that you see.
Yeah.
And then it's always at nighttime. So, and it's a dark creature. So who knows exactly what it does look like? We can't get a really good description of it.
Goes on to say it was appearing to be some kind of occult apparition. It was very selective in the people that it picked out. It picked out people who were about to die. And some of them did die during that period on the bridge and so on. It picked out attractive young women for one thing. Now I'm reading all these quotes from this Strange magazine, by the way, by author John Keel. However, the Scarberries and Mallets obviously did not come to any harm. And so author John Keel's opinion that the creature was an occult apparition remains controversial. So that's kind of interesting, an occult apparition. What do you think of when you think of an occult apparition? Like something conjured, maybe?
Right. That's what would initially come to mind, I would believe.
Kind of like a satanic conjuring of a evil entity. Okay. That kind of adds a little more terror to it in my mind if it was something man-made.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly.
Excuse me. Do you think that something is man-made, Mike, if it's conjured from the spirit realm like that?
Man-made?
If you were like in an occult, like a satanic cult, and you are doing whatever type of, I don't know what the hell you're doing, your experiments, your chants, all your evil practices, and you somehow conjure up this being from the depths of the other side. Is that considered technically man-made, or is that just something that has been summoned through?
Well, I think it could be something that's, and most likely summoned, something that already existed. But if you have the cult experience and the followers, and you put the power into it, maybe it's just the power of the mind, but you can build this piece by piece by picturing it in your mind during a ceremony, and you're actually building that creature from your mind.
I like that idea.
And from the minds of all the occult followers that are there.
Are you petting your dog, by the way?
No.
Oh.
I'm moving my cane.
Oh, I see. Okay. I couldn't tell your arm was moving, so I just wanted to make sure.
You just couldn't see what was going on past that, could you?
I was hoping Mary wasn't down there. I don't see her anymore, so I was just making sure. Oh, there she is. I see her. We better give some of the facts here about the tragic occurrence here. Obviously, the Scalberries and Mallets did not die during their experiences there, but however, 46 area residents, some of them witnesses or relatives of witnesses, did die 1 year later when the Silver Bridge, which crosses the Ohio River at Point Pleasant, collapsed on December 15th, 1967. The accident, caused by the failure of a supporting eye-bar pin, occurred around 5 p.m., which was the worst possible time because, well, traffic and also a full load of rush hour vehicles plunged helplessly into the icy river. The Mothman sightings slowed down after that, but the legend lived on. So that's where the whole, like you said, the portent to disaster comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about that for a second, Mike. Do you buy into that possibility? Do you buy into the notion that we are somehow warned of impending doom? That in the form of something such as this, some sort of
absolutely.
Creature.
If you have any Scottish or Irish blood in you at all, you have to believe in the banshee. And what other portent of disaster is there more than that?
And we've discussed the banshee before as well, too. So it's something that I definitely think it's possible. But at the same time, what is the purpose of it? If this is malevolent in nature, okay, we'd have to think of, well, let me rephrase that. If this was a portent of doom, well, then would you not think of it as benevolent, not malevolent, because it's trying to warn us, perhaps?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. I don't think there's anything evil about it at all. It's like a warning or
really. Okay, so you don't
or even a welcoming.
I want you to be very clear on that. You do not think of the Mothman, if legit, if real, you don't think of it as an evil entity of any sort. You think of it as something that is trying to, well, let's just state it simply, trying to help us.
Well, why would it help us as well? I mean, because is there something in it for the Mothman if it helps people, or is it just something that it is?
That's interesting.
It's benevolent and doesn't actually need a reason. It's just part of the purpose it's there. It never has hurt anyone, physically that I remember.
So I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this where it doesn't absolutely hurt my brain and yours. So are we to think of it maybe as something that is just part of the cycle of life? It's something that it may not necessarily be a physical entity on its own, but it's just part of the Earth's energy. If we are to think of the Earth as a sentient being in itself, is something like the Mothman, these warnings, is it something that the Earth is sending out, trying to forewarn its inhabitants, aka us? Do you get where I'm kind of going at there? I
do. It's an interesting thought. Not totally out of the question.
I did hurt my brain trying to think. I didn't describe it as well as I can see it in my head. I can't really put it into words right now. But hey, that's the point of off the cuff conversation, because this is utterly unprepared, just like retro and randoms. I think it's okay. Or is the Mothman simply Richard Gere dressed up?
Yeah, that could be.
I've never even seen that movie. It's something that I've wanted to see, and I've never done it.
I think I've seen parts of it. I don't know. I don't remember.
You keep looking like you're fiddling with your knob, and it worries me.
It's the knob of my cane.
I know. It's like, are you like, do you have to go to the bathroom? Are you jittery?
No,
Are you like,
no, I'm just
are you like,
just
going,
leaning.
hurry up, Patrick, and end this thing 'cause I need to go eat type stuff?
Oh,
Or-
no.
Okay. I'm just trying to peruse through this stuff as quickly as I can here. Keel's articles about the Mothman appeared in 1960s magazines such as the Flying Saucer Review, Fate magazine. Keel added in the Fate article that the region in question was not only haunted by strange aerial lights, the home of the witnesses were plagued with poltergeists and other supernatural phenomena. I do read that does sound familiar.
Yeah.
Now that I read that, so that's interesting. So that kind of, to me, does that lend a little bit of weight to the idea that the Mothman is part of something larger? You know?
Yes, definitely something larger. If it's it's picking and choosing its who sees it, and for whatever a specific reason, and it doesn't finish with you at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it says here, this goes on, says that, like such things as television sets were burning out at alarming rates. Telephones were ringing, going off the hook, going crazy, ringing at all hours of the day and night with no one on the other end. This is what all these witnesses were saying. People were getting calls from mysterious strangers speaking a cryptic language. Okay, that's weird. Now, most disturbing of all, perhaps, mutilated dogs and farm animals began showing up about the same time as these UFOs. What the hell is going on in Point Pleasant right before the bridge collapse, right after the Mothman appears? That makes you scratch your head.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there that if the same pattern starts again, say in like within the next 5 years, people are going to be wondering and thinking about it, like what's going to happen.
Yeah. Keel, author John Keel here, he refers to locations such as Point Pleasant. He refers to them where multitudes of strange things occur, usually after being jump-started by the appearance of a UFO, as quote-unquote window areas. Now, Keel says, this is a quote from Keel, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is a typical window area. There are hundreds of others throughout the United States, each marked by continuous UFO activity over long periods of time, bizarre monster sightings, and mysterious comings and goings of unusual persons. Keel also added that he knew of other Mothman-like sightings as late as 1969 that went unreported. Window areas. Is Point Pleasant a window area, Mike? Like, is Skinwalker Ranch a window area where stuff is just prone to happen?
I think on maybe a little bit smaller scale, I think that's very possible. Has something to do with those ammunition bunkers too. Whether it's the bunkers themselves or the land that's there, because that is a big part of the Mothman.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that at all, or
those bunkers where the people had gone to, I think the Mothman had been seen in that area, like the bunkers were someplace that it stayed or spent time at.
Now, this is interesting. It says here that Mothman I've never heard of this before, Mike. I think you'll find this interesting. It says here the Mothman may even have had its own brush with celebrity. In an article on connections between UFOs and rock and roll stars, published in Fate magazine in February 2006, writer Sean Castile revealed an eerie story about legendary rock guitarist Jimi Hendrix. Castile explained that the story came from a writer and bass player named Curtis Knight, who had been a member of an early band Hendrix had played in, and who later wrote a book published in 1992 called Jimi Hendrix Star Child. The event took place during a heavy snowstorm in upstate New York, after Hendrix and his band became stuck on the road on their way back to New York City after a minor engagement. The windows of the car had frozen shut, temperatures were dangerously cold, and the car had begun to fill with poisonous carbon monoxide. That's not good. 2 members had already succumbed and were unconscious when Jimmy peered through the falling snow to see a strange cone-shaped craft descend to a nearby spot. A humanoid entity exited the craft, and Knight claimed Hendricks later described it as a, quote, kind of like a cross between a feathered creature, maybe like Mothman, and an angel. This is Jimi Hendrix talking about this.
Yeah.
Now, yes, we all know that Jimmy was, well, let's say, let's put it lightly, he was feeling pretty good most of the time during his short legendary life. Did he really see something? Or did he perhaps ingest something that was affecting...
Well, and just because he may have ingested does not mean that he didn't see it.
I know. And that's the thing too, Mike.
But it really, you have to put that doubt in there though.
So obviously Hendrix died in 1970. It was long before the book was written, and he was no longer be able to confirm, deny, or elaborate upon his former bandmate's story. So, I don't know, man. This is it's a fascinating, this is very brief, like Cliff Notes version of the beginning of this legend, that's for sure. I wanted to try and find what scientists say more than likely is behind the legend of the Mothman, like what physical creature it actually was. I read this earlier, and now I'm trying to find the exact quote. Bear with me for a second here. Basically, it was like a giant extinct owl that they're saying that maybe somehow survived and was, I mean, because that happens. I mean, I keep saying
it's
the
actually
coelacanth, for God's sakes. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, you've heard of the pterodactyl.
The pterodactyl? I don't think I've heard of the pterodactyl. I think Mike's joking.
A play on words, a pterodactyl and pterodactyl. Jesus. That went nowhere.
Well, again, your damn poker face and the tone of your voice. I'm just like, come on, man. Work with me here. Well, I can't find a damn thing, but it's an interesting legend, that's for sure. Mike, what's your vibe of the Mothman legend? I mean, let's just kind of riff it here for the last final minutes.
Well, I believe that there's something there. There's enough that but the thing is it can be anything. The first time it was spotted, it could have been, what made it look like that was a mixture of shadow, moonlight, a street light, and a car driving by or something. This is going the negative direction, but I mean, trying to explain it off, but to me, there's obviously something there, and then after that first sighting, the next people that see something that looks like what was described as the Mothman, and then it keeps, building up and building up and building up, and
they're going to say, "Oh, that's right," because they may not. They may even be doing it subconsciously. They could
exactly.
They were aware of what they had heard, and then
not purposely, trying to pull something over on somebody, but
unfortunately, they're not trying. They're not consciously trying to deceive people. That
right.
Unfortunately, that's just how a lot of these things. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of them. Quite a few of these legends get rolling. Because it's just, as you said, Mike, it's a slow burn almost. As one person says something, then the other person catches on, and then before you know it, it's like the telephone game almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
One person says one thing at one end of the line, and by the time it gets to the other person, it's totally different. It's. But the one thing that gets me about this, I mean, it's fascinating, it's interesting. I don't know where I sit on it, really. Not the Mothman physically, the legend. It's the part that gets to me most is what we were talking about earlier briefly, is about all the other phenomena that was going on in the city. I mean, we're talking about multiple people, multiple witnesses, maybe in the hundreds who were claiming like poltergeist activity in their houses, and their television sets, just blowing up basically. The phones ringing off the hook. Cryptic
electrical
messages.
issues.
The electrical issues. Again, is something really weird going on in the land there, Mike.
Yeah. Well, that's very likely considering how much activity and how many different types of activity is going on. There's a lot more going on than the Mothman. I mean, everything that does happen or has happened there, maybe it culminated into the this form of the Mothman. Who knows?
I mean, it definitely could be literally just physically related. It could be Earth that's causing all of this. Could be some really unbelievably powerful electromagnetic stuff that's happening in the ground. Hell, I mean, it says it was a faulty bar pin that caused the bridge to drop, but maybe the Earth itself had something to do with the bridge collapse. I don't know. I'm not sure if earthquakes are common in that area of the country, or if they're possible even. If you live in Ohio, please let us know. I'm not. I don't know. Either way, do you, Mike? I mean, it's. I would think that an earthquake would be technically possible anywhere.
We've had earthquakes here, very tiny that you can barely feel.
Yeah,
but it's been a very extremely rare thing. Yeah, who knows?
I guess the point I'm getting at is that I'm kind of talking myself into the notion, the possibility that this is Earth related as far as all those phenomena, and it just happens to coincide with the emergence of this legend, and so it all kind of comes together, and it's just a perfect match. It just helps the legend endure.
Coincidentally, a perfect match.
Yeah, it helps the legend endure. It helps the legend grow. And hell, we're sitting there talking about it on a Patreon episode now in 2022,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's, I don't know.
But then think of it this way too. Maybe there was somebody back in the early 60s that had an idea. Oh, let's see where this goes,
Absolutely. I mean, you can't dismiss that possibility either.
Because there are people that just straight out make shit up.
Unfortunately, that is true, man.
But the more witnesses you have, and the more things that that are seen, maybe the more legit it is. But I mean, just the thought of it and thinking about it and getting freaked out about if you're going to see something is going to make you see something, whether it's there or not.
Very true, man.
That's very possible as well.
Your mind can play tricks on you. It's as simple as that. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissing the possibility that there is something freaking weird flying around that looks like an owl and a human.
Or we have not, or have we suggested the final possibility of what this could possibly be?
Well, lay it on me. I don't know if we have.
It's a demon straight from hell.
You had to go there, didn't you? You had to go there.
What's your thoughts on that?
I don't lend a lot of credence to that for whatever reason. That's just my vibe. I need to think about that for a little while. But my immediate reaction would be, no, it's not demonic in nature. But I guarantee if I sat there and thought about it and pondered about it, I could probably go, well, shit, maybe it is,
Yeah.
But then it leads you down on 9,000 other paths of conversation that we don't have time to dive into right now.
Right.
Well, Mike, hey, yeah, we're up to about 55 minutes. Thanks, buddy, for making this work tonight. I appreciate it. Are you up for this weekend to do that double dose for retro
Absolutely.
and randoms, man? We need to get a couple of retro and randoms out. We're a little bit behind.
It shall be good.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you go. You can go play with your knob on your own time. You can relax and chill, and you can keep on appearing in front of Mary as a
pasty white ghosty.
Yep. So,
yeah. Oh, I will. That happens pretty much every night.
Okay, all right. So, well, until next time, boys and girls. God damn it! I'm going to be playing that a lot. Well, you have a good night, Mike. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Help spread the Patreon word if you want to support the podcast, which you guys are. We love you all so much for helping us out right now.
Absolutely.
Get a friend or a family member to try it out for as little as a buck.
Yeah, or strangers.
Or
Doesn't
strangers.
matter.
Or strangers. Yeah, just walk up to them. Walk up to them with your Paranormally Zone sticker and just go, yeah, that'll get them. All right. All right, Mike. Thanks a lot, buddy. Until next time, what do our buddies out there need to do, my friend?
Siege out.